What's up, guys? It's Nate. One Man's Odyssey, doing a day hike here in, you might call this southern New Mexico. As you can see from the sign, we've gone about 1 mile so far, with about 4.3 miles to go. I expect this to be around a 10-mile round trip hike, so those numbers might be inflated a little bit to get it nice and round, but as you can see, it is a nice winter scene. It's a very special day. It is my birthday, January 10th. Happy birthday to me. Please make a guess in the comments for how old I am. I'm very curious to see what some people say. And so, this is my day off. It is a Friday. We are heading up Chupadera Mountain, which is not the high point of the Chupadera Mountain range. That is, I think, an unnamed high point further west in the range, which I'd love to do one day. But this is actually the high point of the Bosque Del Apache Wilderness, which covers a wetlands region close to the Rio Grande. It is very famous as a bird migratory corridor. I've seen a lot of birds, I've seen a lot of wildlife, some deer, heard those coyotes, saw falcon. Of course, in my quest to hike many high points, mountains, prominence peaks, etc. in New Mexico, the wilderness is up there. Wilderness high point list, I should say. And Chupadera Mountain is the high point of this wilderness. Like I said, this wilderness, I'll talk a little bit about it more later, some of the details about it and stuff. Age, in my case, does not necessarily breed wisdom. I stupidly forgot my boots at home. Normally I just throw them in my car. After, I do a trip, I change out of my boots, throw them in the back of my car, put on more comfortable shoes for the drive home. And I guess last time I hiked, I must not have done that. I think I maybe only brought boots because it was such a short hike. And as a result, I totally forgot. It was a busy week at work. I totally forgot to put the boots back in my car. I'm wearing my trail runners, but as you can tell, this is a fresh, 2 or 3 inches of snow on the ground. I'm doing okay so far after the first mile. I'm not too worried about it, but it would be nice to have the boots. Right, by my count, we've got a little over 2 miles to the summit. We just crossed I-25, I guess crossed under it. It's kind of a creepy culvert. The Bosque del Apache Wilderness is one wilderness, but I won't pretend to understand the idiosyncrasies of wilderness areas, but I do know that a heavy premium is placed on contiguity. So is it all in one piece? And the Bosque del Apache Wilderness is not contiguous. And so it actually has 3 different sub-wildernesses. Chupadera Mountain is the high point of the Chupadera Wilderness. The reason why the wilderness is not contiguous is because it is bisected or trisected by I-25. And then further east, you saw that there were some train tracks that I had to dip under to get on the trail. And that is, I think, what causes the other trisection between Indian Wells and Pasquale. So for the most part on the hike so far, we've not been gaining too much elevation. My guess is we've probably gained at most 500 feet since we started hiking. But now I think is when we're about to start gaining a lot of elevation. So I think the entire hike is supposed to be around 2,000 feet or so of elevation gain. So we've got about still 1,500 feet to gain. This over here is a benchmark cone RG. I have no idea what RG stands for, but it does look very conical. I originally did plan on summiting that in conjunction with Chupadera Mountain, but I think because of the trail runner boot mishap, I think we're going to stay on trail today. But it does look like a cool peak. Definitely, if you come do this, I would recommend taking that onto everything because it looks like a fun mountain with great views. switching back through that beautiful canyon with all those, I assume this is volcanic rock, all those fins. Definitely the highlight of the hike so far. Though I will say this whole area has been so beautiful. I love the desert scenery. This is one of my favorite parts about New Mexico is you have the mixture of the high alpine and the desert scenery, both high and low desert. And so we are about 500 feet from the summit vertically. And my guess would be maybe 3/4 of a mile. So I think it's pretty straightforward. Ridge climb from here on out. Let's do it. What do we think these animal prints are? They look too small to be mountain lion, but too big to be coyote. I don't really know. For scale, there's my hand. All right, so strictly speaking, the Chupadera Wilderness, the Bosque Del Apache Wilderness area ends about, let's see, it looks like about 100 yards east of the peak. So the high point, strictly speaking, is this prominence. It's not really a prominence point. It's definitely zero prominence, high knob east of the peak. This sign behind me demarcates the start of the wilderness. I put it back up. It was actually on the ground. And you can see this fence also demarcates the wilderness, but let's head towards the true summit and call that a victory. Okay, so here's the cairn. Definitely looks like the high point is a little bit further over here though. Oop. And there we go. Another beautiful New Mexico summit. I'm not going to spend too long up here. I'm feeling pretty good. And anybody who has done winter hiking knows that you build up a lot of body heat, a lot of sweat. And the second you stop, especially if you're on a cold, exposed, slightly windy summit, that all catches up to you and your temperature drops like 10 or 20 degrees. Now, obviously not your body temperature, but I would say the perceived outside temperature. So probably just gonna take some video, take a few pictures, and then start heading back down. But it is beautiful views up here. I won't talk for too long because this video really isn't about this, but this is a very historic place of New Mexico that we're looking at. I think somewhere down here, I want to say right over here, is Fort Craig. And Fort Craig is long abandoned. It's not an active military fort anymore, but it was a fort that was set up, I think, during the Mexican-American War. And it was home to, I would argue, the second most significant battle in New Mexico of the American Civil War. I believe there were also at least one battle during the Mexican-American War, so it is a very historic spot in this state and in this country. So I would love to check that out a little bit more one day, but today is not that day. My feet are starting to feel pretty cold. I think just the snow drifts I had to come up at the higher aspects of this slope finally inundated my shoes, and so I am looking to get down and get back to my car.